They say your eyes are the windows to the soul. They're also the windows to your health because they let eye doctors see what's going on inside. Think about this. A comprehensive eye exam can be an early detector of serious health problems like high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Shouldn't you see your eye doctor yearly? Go to thinkaboutyoureyes.com to learn more and for a list of local eye doctors. It could help save more than your vision.
Hello, everybody. We're Hello America once again on your television stream all over the world. My name is David Evans, and we have some special guests on with us today. We are so happy to have the doctor back on again. Dr. Lane is back on, and we have this person that everybody loves, Michelle Cox. We are so happy again for everybody watching Hello America, and we're going to get right into this presentation. Those who are watching on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, those who are watching right now on PIC TV Network, Channel 1000. I'm David Evans, the president. I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. Let's get into this interview today. Thank you, Michelle.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Hello America Spotlight. We have Dr. Lane Rolling, our infectious disease and our virologist expert. Now, before we get into what we're going to be talking about today, which is monkeypox and resurgence of polio, I want to take this time to ask Dr. Rolling some questions so our audience can get to know him a lot better. Dr. Rolling, where did you grow up?
Well, I want to thank you for that warm introduction, and I'm happy to be back on PIC TV again, and I hope this is going to be a continual series. We're going to be able to provide people with the best information, educational information on how to navigate in this new world, especially during the pandemic time. But I basically grew up in Louisiana and Arkansas. My hometown is Oakdale, Louisiana, a little country boy, but I spent a lot of my summers in Hazen, Arkansas, chasing tadpoles and dragonflies and stuff and drinking Dr. Peppers and barbecue potato chips.
That is awesome. So tell us a little bit about your education. Tell us, I remember we were talking and they said that you were showing signs of mental retardation. Tell us about that and how you got diagnosed with that and how about that wrong diagnosis and all the way up to now you have 6 degrees.
Right.
Microbiology, virology. So just give us a little of that background if you don't mind.
Well, I think it's a very interesting story because one of the things I learned from that experience as a 6-year-old kid, never let anybody define you. I was 6 years old in Virginia in elementary school, and my teacher told my mother I had mental retardation or special ed. I needed to be put in special ed, and that I had a speech impediment at that time. And my mother said, no, he's just bored. When they were talking about 4 plus 4, I was thinking 9 times 9 looking out the window. So I had a different viewpoint at that time, but I was classified at 6 years old as being supposed to be put in special education, but that's a long story. But nowadays, at this point in my life, I have 6 degrees and 3/4 because only one class I'm getting my math minor, but I'm not going to do that. I think I have enough degrees and stuff, but that's the process.
So would you tell us about your degrees and what schools they came from, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I got my undergraduate degree. I graduated from Valley High School in 1982 in Las Vegas after living in Germany for 4 years. I think some of the background to my upbringing is that I had the opportunity to live in Germany for 4 years, Japan 2 years, around the world as a military dependent and stuff. And then I became a military officer. But I am going to Weber State University in Ogden, Utah with a military scholarship and a football scholarship. And my degree BS was in microbiology and chemistry and minor military science. I graduated in 4 years. I still can't believe I pulled that off with all the classes I had to take, but I did it. Got commissioned in 1982, was a chemical biological warfare officer. That was my branch. And then I went on to graduate school. I was going to go to graduate school and get a master's or get a PhD. I got into the PhD biochemistry program, molecular biology at Wayne State University, and the cellular molecular biology from the University of Reno Medical School. And I always knew I wanted to go to medical school. And so I went and got my master's degree in cellular molecular biology from the University of Nevada. Did that in 2 years, and I went to medical school in Iowa for 2 years. and I ended up finishing it at the California San Francisco Medical School. And what year was that? It'd been like 1992. And then I ended up doing my residency training in Honolulu, Hawaii. But along the way, I had the opportunity to do trauma at USC, LA County Hospital, University of Chicago, trauma center there. And so I had some great experience in the military. And then I spent 2 years postdoctorate doing, what I call community infectious diseases in the jungles of Peru. I spent 2 years doing that. The rest of it's just history on the life and being my background. I really don't like to talk about it, but I guess we have to because it lays the foundation. I call that the push-ups of where I'm at today in life. I tell people when you're in school, nowadays, when you're in school, it's about doing push-ups. And it's not about today, it's about what's going to happen in the future. And I tell kids, you spend your 20s going to school and your 30s and 40s making a living, and not the other way around. And so for me, academics has been always very important to me. And I still have post-traumatic syndrome from what that teacher told me when I was 6 years of age. And I've always strived to be the best. I don't want to hear any excuses about academics because a lot of people in our society try to classify people's intelligence and at my age group, how we were educated. And I got so sick of hearing that, if you weren't good enough, you weren't smart enough. So I went and got all the degrees and stuff. So that is part of my upbringing and the educational aspects. And I recommend education for everybody.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to have that conversation with you, because I wanted to lay the groundwork for everybody that might not have heard of you, might not know you. And this way, when we talk about you being an expert, they know that when we say it, we're telling them just the facts. Now, we were talking about, and this conversation is leading us into what is monkeypox and when did the monkeypox virus first come on the scene? Do you know those things?
Yes, I do. And then let me, before I jump into that, I want to make sure that we have background for the audience to really have an understanding, because a lot of people can't figure out when they look at the amount of stuff I've done, education-wise, experience-wise, worldwide, from all the different countries, working in Peru, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reason why you have to strive to be the best because the world is very competitive. But when you have a thirst for knowledge, it's always exciting. It's always inspiration. It always makes you take one step further, and you have to be inspired. One thing I've learned in education and military, you have to have dedication, determination, and discipline. If you have the discipline, you can do anything in life. And so I strive to be the best in everything that I've done, from being a biological warfare officer to being certified in chemical and biological warfare, understanding diseases, publishing in magazines in virology and microbiology, and teaching virology in Germany, and doing these clinics in the jungles for many years and teaching students. So I think I have a pretty good background. Now, to your question about monkeypox, monkeypox is something that most folks need to realize is an important endemic disease now in the United States that people need to understand. Monkeypox was first diagnosed or determined in 1958 in Denmark and in monkeys, and that's where the name monkeypox came from. And the only reason we discovered it in 1958, we finally had the technology group, electron microscopy and staining, to actually see what we're looking at. And we discovered that. We've had periodic outbreaks.
I apologize, Dr. Rowling.
Yeah,
what is an electron or a spectrometer that you're talking about? Break that down so people can understand what type of equipment that is, if you can. Give us a 60-second view of that.
Well, we have basically two types of microscopes in microbiology. In virology, we have light microscope and we have electron microscope. Well, when we get down to the electron microscope, it gives us the ability to really look very, very at small size structures, i.e. in the nanometers range, i.e. we can look at viruses and stuff. We can use the light microscope to look at bacteria and other large pathogens or microorganisms. So the electron microscope is the state-of-the-art equipment that allows us to see it almost at the molecular level, looking at things that are very small. And so that was a game changer over time, especially in the world of infectious diseases, in discovering new viruses and discovering new microorganisms. So the electron microscope was really a very significant part in the history of microbiology and science, and letting us see these things that we could not see before that time period. And so the reality, folks, is that monkeypox was discovered in 1958. Our first outbreak here in the United States was in 2003. We had about 80 cases in the Midwest. It started in a pet store from prairie dogs that were infected with rats or rodents that were brought in from Africa that had monkeypox. And that monkeypox virus jumped into these prairie dogs at the pet store and then ended up infecting about 80 people. And it kind of vanished away. Now we fast forward monkeypox to 2021, we have a significant outbreak worldwide. What happened, Dr. Rowland? This is a new disease? No, it's an emerging disease. But the reality is that when we look at the population of Africa, Central and Western Africa, which is really where monkeypox has been there for thousands of years, it's endemic. About 11% of the people show antibodies all the time in the population, which means that people are consistently being exposed. Well, what happened? We fast forwarded, and at that time, monkeypox was more of contracting through what we say contact with a carcass. Somebody got scratched, or maybe they ate the meat, the monkey meat, or what they call bush meat, and that virus jumped into them. Now, what happened in 2022 is that the virus mutated. The virus to figure out a different, what we call virulence effectiveness. How can I infect more people? And it modified itself, and it became really more of a sexual transmitted disease. In 2022, the clusters of outbreaks of people being infected weren't the general population that's always infected. It jumped into men having sex with men, and that became a catalyst to where we're at today. More than likely, what happened is that a flight attendant, a UK flight attendant, flew to Nigeria. They have a very colonization type of relationship. Probably had sex with men in Nigeria, caught it, got on a plane, went back to UK, had sex with men, it became a cluster infection there, got on a plane, flew to the United States, did the same thing in China. The case got imported there. And so the reality, folks, that monkeypox is here to stay. What's important for the folks out there to understand about monkeypox, monkeypox is a DNA virus. It's in the same family of the smallpox.
Okay, slow down just a little bit, Dr. Rowling. What is an ENA virus? Please explain that.
Well, we have two types of viruses in virology. We have a DNA virus, is what we call deoxyribonucleic acid virus, and we have ribonucleic acid virus. But at the end of the day, we have DNA viruses and RNA viruses, and DNA viruses are much stable than RNA viruses, and RNA viruses are very unstable and cause the vast majority of diseases in the world that are very lethal, especially when it comes to pandemics and endemics, infections.
All right. Now, you say pandemic and endemic, and we discussed a little bit of that last week. So pandemic is worldwide. Endemic is more localized or more regional, correct?
Right. And then we really have three words: pandemic, endemic, and epidemic. Pandemic is worldwide. Endemic means of diseases in a distinct geographic area, like we'll use the state of Arkansas, diseases in Arkansas. When a disease goes outside of Arkansas and outside this geographic local area, it becomes an epidemic disease. So monkeypox is endemic now, and it's always been endemic in Africa, but now it's endemic and established here in the United States. And what makes monkeypox different is the DNA virus, which is much more stable. The virus is hardy. What does that mean, Doc? Well, that virus can be on bed sheets for 20 days. You can shake the bed sheets and pick up the virus through aerosol. The virus can be on contact surfaces from bike handles to ATM machines. And we find a lot of the virus infection on toilet seats in public arena. You can contract monkeypox, folks, through a couple of mechanisms. You can catch it through urine, i.e. somebody could be peeing in the bathroom, urine gets on the floor, you can contract that, or at a swimming pool, same thing. You can catch it through feces.
Wait a minute. Slow down just a second. Now, if you're at a swimming pool and there's chlorine in the water, are you telling us we still can get monkeypox?
Absolutely. So you can still get monkeypox, and there have been pools where people have been exposed to monkeypox. And you have to understand that, this virus is pretty hardy. You can imagine somebody, leaking urine, or somebody goes and uses the bathroom at the swimming pool, and they don't wipe themselves very good. They get into water, or they're sitting on a bath towel, and that feces or urine soils out, you can be infected. So that's why it's very important that people understand transmission. We talked about transmission. If you understand transmission, you can always kind of break up the algorithm up to being infected to not being infected. And so this virus is transmitted monkeypox through urine. It's transmitted through feces. It's transmitted through sperm, contact, scratches, etc. And most important, that the virus has the ability to what we call transplacental transfer into the fetus. It can transfer and infect the fetus.
Okay, so let me ask you, because there's a case of monkeypox here in Georgia. It was viral because a young lady had a GoFundMe, and she said she contracted it from taking dirty money. Is that a possibility?
That's a possibility because feces is everywhere, and one of the most effective or contaminated things that we touch in the public space is money. And so money is a great vector for viruses and bacteria. So the possibility of her contracting it from money is a very strong possibility. But we have to understand that monkeypox is a very, very serious disease. I mean, it is very contagious, i.e., when an individual gets this disease, they're going to go through the process period. They're going to go through an infectious state, then they're going to go to the blister state, and then they're going to have recovery state. At the end of the day, they're still infectious from the time they're infected up to 30 days, up to 2 months. So they're leaking out viruses. So you can imagine, people having sex, and we find 95% of the men's sperm infected with the monkeypox, same-sex men or men in that practice that type of lifestyle. And so you can imagine how infectious it is. And it's almost similar to what we were going through in the 1980s during the HIV/AIDS crisis. The biggest threat that I believe is that what happens is that you have these men out there that are having sex with men with HIV, and they go home to their girlfriends and their wives, and they end up infecting them. Same thing with monkeypox. They go home, they infect their girlfriends or their wives and stuff. And then what happens is they get infected, and that virus, if that female gets pregnant, that virus jumps and goes across the fetus and causes congenital defects of the baby. That's a big concern.
Okay, so now we know that you can have male to male and male to female transmission, as well as female to male and female to female, because just like anything that's what we call a sexually transmitted disease, it can be passed that way. The thing about it is, now how can we keep ourselves safe from monkeypox?
Well, the most important thing is that famous word I like to use called situational awareness. You need to understand that anytime nowadays, because of the different pandemic endemic infections from polio to coronavirus to monkeypox, we have to realize in the public space, we have feces everywhere. Things are contaminated. You can imagine the magazine on an airplane completely infected with feces and stuff, contaminated. You can imagine going to a supermarket or grabbing the cart to get your food, or you're at a gas station touching the pump handle on a gas pump. You can be infected. So everybody can be exposed to monkeypox. Nobody's immune to it. But at the end of the day, the most important thing in monkeypox is making sure that you protect your hands in the public space, i.e. washing your hands, having a hand sanitizer. If you're going to touch the gas pump, you spray it down or use a gloves, whatever the case is, because that is the reality. And then especially when you're at restaurants, making sure you look at the individuals that are serving your food and making sure they don't have lesions on their hands or their face. I was at a restaurant last night here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and there was a guy in there. He had blisters all over his mouth and, on his face too. And you can imagine, I'm looking at him, seeing what he's touching and stuff. So you have to be very careful nowadays, because you can get infected by even touching a door handle coming out of Target.
So my thing is, because you talked about restaurants, how can we get with our restaurant owners or our restaurant chains to make sure that their employees are being more safe? Because I went out to a restaurant, and it was one of the things I reported last week to the restaurant manager. And I said, the guy that's serving me, I'm looking at his face, he's broke out, he's not using gloves and this, that, and the other. So I'm not going to eat. I'm not trying to be difficult, but at the end of the day, we have to be safe, because as you said, the coronavirus pandemic is not over. Now we have monkeypox. So we have a couple of things going on. with everything that's going on. So the 7 F's of transmission, can we go over those again, if you don't mind?
Yeah, and that's very important. And I think people need to evaluate the places they visit in the public arena, i.e., if you go to a restaurant, you might want to go check out the bathroom and see if they have soap in there, they have paper towels. How long are they cleaning their bathrooms? Every 1 hour, or are they cleaning it once a day? So it's very, very important. But one of the things that's important as we navigate is trying to educate the general public and just understanding the world of infectious disease. And the way you understand it is how diseases are transmitted. And there's 7 F's that we use in ABCs of infectious disease, how diseases are transmitted. And one of the F's is the face. Another F is feces. Another F is flies. We have fingers, we have food, we have fomite, and we have foot. And the reality is that if you understand that people touch their face 100 times a day, and you decrease not touching your face, making sure your hand washes, you can decrease your chance of getting infected from influenza, polio, coronavirus, or monkeypox. Understanding flies have a life cycle in feces. They go in feces, they eat it, they land on your potato salad or your Coke, and they regurgitate, they vomit viruses and bacteria and stuff, and people get infected. Some of the worst infections are viruses and bacteria are transmitted by flies. Another F is your fingers, making sure you don't really shake people's hands nowadays in our society because most people don't wash their hands. You can imagine people going in the bathroom, they come out, they don't wash their hands, and the reality is that their hands is a source of infection, especially females that have long fingernails. You guys have seen that before. And it's how do you clean these? How do you clean your hands? How do you wash your hands? How do you wipe yourself when you go to the bathroom? So the fingers is very, very important. Another F is food, understanding that the food can be a source of infection, transmission of SARS-CoV virus, monkeypox, even polio. You think about somebody at Tyson plant up in Iowa, and he's sick with monkeypox and SARS-CoV virus, and it's happened earlier in the pandemic with the SARS-CoV virus. He coughs, he got viruses everywhere. That virus lands on the meat, they put it in a plastic wrap, they freeze it, they ship it to wherever in the country or the world. That virus is still in that frozen meat, the T-bone state, because freezing does not kill viruses. So you bring that meat home, you thaw it out, and then what happens, you come in contact with that, you touch your face, leave it on the counter, whatever the case is, and you can get transmission from there.
Another all right, Dr. Rowland, just hold on 1 second. We're TV time. We've got to go to the commercial. Everybody, thank you for joining our Hello America Spotlight with Dr. Lane Rowling. He is our Chief Medical Officer here at the PIC TV Network. We'll be back after these messages.
Okay.
Every time a patient is diagnosed with colon cancer, the first question is, am I going to survive this? So let's take a moment and talk about the probability of cure in this disease. Using multi-modality treatment, meaning combination of surgery with and without radiation and chemotherapy, we have significantly improved the outcomes and survival of patients with colon cancer through all the stages from 1 to 4. Unfortunately, whether a patient will be cured or not is still determined at the stage they were diagnosed with. The more advanced the tumor, the lower the likelihood of a cure. A stage 1 tumor that has not even penetrated through the wall of the colon can expect it to be cured in 93% or more percent of the time. Once the tumor starts to grow through the wall, things become more complicated because it's not only the size of the tumor at that point, but also how aggressive it is, what the different biology is. And there's a lot of research in trying to determine today the risk groups and the genetic factors that determine how aggressive a tumor is. But for now, we have to go by what we have, and this is the size of the tumor and whether lymph nodes are involved or other organs are involved. So a stage 2 tumor, which would mean a tumor through the wall but not in the lymph nodes yet, can expect to be cured in anywhere between 75 to 85% of the time. And this is because there are small tumor cells that have already left that we might not see originally, so the tumor was a higher stage, or it's just a more aggressive tumor. In stage 3 disease, meaning the tumor has spread to the lymph nodes already, unfortunately these numbers drop significantly. Stage 3C, meaning more than 7 lymph nodes or very advanced primary tumor, the cure rates drop to 40-44% rate if you look at the patient populations. In stage 4 disease, the 5-year survival rate is quoted as around 8%, which means there is a subset that still might be cured using optimal treatment. All of these numbers are historical, and we hope that in 2013, combining chemotherapy in early stage disease, we might be able to achieve better results.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Said the Entertainer. I want y'all to check out Pick TV Network. That's right, Pick TV Network. They got 60 free channels on Roku. This is dope. They also started the brand new Coaching World channel at $9.89. So if you are a content provider, you are a young business with an opportunity to build a platform where you can have your own show, do some programming, check out Pick TV Network on Roku. They got over 60 free channels for you to check out and also grow a business. Go and see them now. See the content. See what they have to do. Learn something. Check them out. All right? Pick TV Network. That's what I'm talking about.
Hello, everybody. We're back here at Hello America. We are having one of the biggest interviews on Pick TV Network right here with Breaking Live. And I'm excited about Michelle Cox bringing in the doctor. The Dr. Rollins, he's coming back to give us some more information. And I can't wait, Michelle, to the doctor's doing so many great things. I mean, the whole world is watching him talk to us today, and I'm excited about, just his information, just his knowledge, to have him on our network to see what he's doing for the world is amazing. To have him to come in and share his expertise. Michelle, this is big. This is big for us, Michelle. We're gonna bring.
Well, the thing about it is, we have to have facts. We can't have alternative information. People need to know how to keep themselves safe in this world with everything that's going on.
Yeah, and definitely, when the doctor comes on, I'm listening. I'm in the back office taking notes. The whole world is chatting in. So I want everybody to know you're watching Hello America. You want to chat in on Facebook, YouTube. This is a special interview. This is part 2. Hey, the health channel is blowing up on the Pick TV Network. Let me get off the screen so we can bring the doctor back in. Doctor, I am so happy again for all of you watching on Hello America. This is big for our network. Michelle, you're doing a wonderful job. Doc, it's back in your hands with Michelle.
All right, Dr. Rowland and everybody, welcome back to Hello America Spotlight with our guest, Dr. Lane Rowling. We were talking about the 7 F's of transmission. Can you continue, please? Because you started to get into fomites.
Yeah, fomite is another one of the F's, and fomite is F-O-M-I-T-E. We define it as an inanimate object. It could be your cell phone, it could be a pen, it could be a salt shaker, it could be your book, it could be your laptop, It could be the door handle, a syringe, etc. Anything that's not living is what we define as an inanimate object. And these can also be a source of infection. Probably one of the biggest inanimate objects that transmits diseases around the world every day, every second is money. Money is notoriously a significant vector for transmission of diseases from viruses, bacteria, and all different types of microorganisms. And so when people are handling money, you definitely have to desanitize your hands. And in fact, in some of these third world countries, you can imagine them interchanging money with somebody's at a wet market and they're buying bush meat and they've got blood all over their hand and they're transferring that money to the individual, giving that person back the change. That is part of the source of initiation of infection worldwide. So a fomite money is a significant transmission of diseases. Another one is the foot. We define at the bottom of your shoes. A lot of people don't realize that under the bottom of your shoes is a source of transmission of diseases from viruses, bacteria. You can imagine what people walk in the yard. They might step in dog feces or cat urine or whatever the case is. Or they might be at the gas station, Walmart, and they're walking on feces in a public bathroom. That's already, after somebody used the bathroom, you can transfer that to your home. You get in contact with your shoes or the virus or the bacteria drops off in your house and becomes, you walk by, your kinetic energy, you can put that in the air. So understanding, do not wear your shoes in the house. Leave your shoes outside or make sure you're desanitizing your shoes because that's what the Japanese figured out thousands of years ago, that the shoes are a source of infection. That's why they don't wear shoes in the house. And I think that's a pretty significant understanding, basic of understanding transmission. If you understand face, if you understand feces, if you understand flies, you understand your fingers and foot and fomite, you're going to be in good shape. But the most important thing is just understanding that every day that you're into the real world, you have to think about your potential getting affected by somebody else or you touching a door handle. So if you prevent these transmission cycles, i.e. protect yourself, you decrease your chance of getting infected.
Well, that's the information that everybody needs to hear. And so now for me, because I'm immunocompromised, I have sarcoidosis in my lungs, which is an autoimmune disease. I have to be particularly careful. So a lot of times I'm going out with gloves and a mask, and I have people that give me these strange looks. And you've heard it right here, America, from Dr. Lane Rowland. We need to take these 7 precautions into our body and to make sure that we're being safe. So he said, fingers, we don't want to be shaking hands, and we don't want to be, the next one, we don't want to be touching our face. We unconsciously touch our face all the time. Now, if you look behind me, we have Chromebooks that we just picked up from the school system. And what we do is we sanitize them before we work on them, but we work on them with gloves because we know that we could pick up something in the transmission. And that's one of the reasons why when we have these informative talks, we're here to give you the information that you need, not what you want to hear, but the facts. All right. Now, Dr. Rowland, how else can we keep ourselves safe?
Well, another most important
endemic.
Excuse me. Yeah, probably another important thing that I think people forget about is that when you're out in a public space, you're in this environment. It doesn't matter if you're in Walmart, anywhere you're around people, an elevator, hotel. You get done during the day at your job. You come home. Make sure you take them clothes and put them and wash them. Put them in the dirty clothes because viruses can be on your clothes. In fact, we find high concentration of coronavirus on the back of people. On the back of their clothes, on their back, their pants and stuff, from sitting in chairs and stuff. So you need to make sure that you're washing your clothes and not using the same clothes. And more importantly, when you get home, especially school children, go ahead and take a shower. We have a standard solution to pollution dilution. So people nowadays probably on the average should be taking at least 2 or 3 showers a day. One in the morning time, one in the when they get home from work, and then one before they go to bed and stuff, depending on the situation and stuff. And that's going to promote great, healthy, body cleanliness by decreasing the amount of viruses on your skin. And that's why we say the solution to pollution is solution, especially children when they're coming home from this environment with all the other school children. Kids should automatically come home and take a shower.
Okay, now I always spray my shoes with Lysol, and I spray around my pants so they can basically make a little Lysol cloud. I've got my face covered. Is that a good solution, or am I doing it wrong?
You're doing it wrong. More, what you need to do is you've got your mask, you're going to be fine. If you're going to continue to use Lysol, you need to be careful because Lysol and bleach are what we call organic vapor compounds. And for a lot of minorities, the vapor compounds like bleach, Lysol, Pine Sol can set off an asthmatic trigger. I did a program about 2 years ago with Ickey Woods, the famous football player out of Cincinnati Bengals, on asthma and COVID because his son ended up dying from COVID and asthma, and he had a reaction. And so it was very important that we talk about what can we use to not trigger an asthmatic attack. And one of the things I recommend, if you're going to be using sprays, you need to get something that's organic green compound. And one of the best things in the world is hypochlorous acid solution that we use in neonatal units. We use it in stores, spraying vegetables and stuff. And it has great organic compound ability, 100 times more effective than chlorine and bleach. And it's a green compound. And so this is something people need to start using, is hypochlorous acid, because we use it in the military to control Ebola outbreaks. And we can control Ebola outbreaks. We can control most infectious diseases on the planet with just hypochlorous acid.
Okay, so tell us, because I know that you are big into sanitation. Tell us a little bit about your company and sanitation and some of the products that you recommend so people can make sure that they're doing the right things. Because like I said, I'm a big Lysol and Clorox person. My mom we used to joke and said my mom had Cloroxitis because she would literally, we get it come in from outside, and she's like, we don't want any chiggers or bugs in the house. And she would take a quarter cup of Clorox and put it in our bath water and bathe us with it to keep, just to keep our skin clean.
Yeah, I believe it. A lot of people do a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, it's just, understanding that we're in this thing for a long time. And one of the things when I got into the space 3 years ago, it's not only about giving information, it's also coming up with solutions. And I had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest companies in the world, that work with the Vatican, et cetera, on understanding how do people navigate. And we have the technology to do that. How is a guy like me that works in biological laboratories all over the world, hospitals, patients that have multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, et cetera, and viral disease that are very transmitted through respiration, how do I navigate in that world? So we took what we learned as infectious disease specialists and brought it to the real world so that the general public can understand, well, if we're dealing with something that's a viral, you need to have an antiviral mask. You need to make sure, and you're going back to work or school, you need to have air scrubbers or air sanitizer that can scrub the air and decrease the amount of viruses in the air. Understanding what's the best hand sanitizer, understanding the best way to navigate, understanding what thermometer that we have. And so what we did, we came up with the concept of, after vetting all the technology, we picked and used the best technology that we believe will help people navigate and so save people's lives and decrease the sickness in folks. And then we've done that. So we provided, antiviral masks for universities and students and fire departments and lawyers. And we've sanitized schools with hypochlorous acid, gyms and cafeterias, and sprayed buses with it. And we've also put air sanitizers in dorm rooms and cafeterias and classrooms, in football boxes, et cetera. So the technology that we have for Tapeta has been vetted by the top scientists, and we believe what we have will make a difference. And so that's what makes us different.
Well, those are the things that we always make sure we need to know, because one, we don't want to make ourselves sick from using chemicals, but two, we want to keep ourselves safe. So just to repeat, Dr. Rowland said, make sure we're going to either leave the shoes outside or sanitize them when you bring them in, but don't you walk around with your shoes on in the house. Your outdoor shoes should not be your indoor shoes. Number
Absolutely.
one, the other thing we want to make sure is that we're not touching our face and we're not shaking hands, because not only can monkeypox be transmitted, but also coronavirus. We have to remember flies, also transmit because they get into feces and they regurgitate or they vomit on food. So we have to make sure wherever we go, there are not flies present. And then know that fecal matter can be everywhere. So touching door handles and things of that nature. If you can't wear a glove, do like I do. I normally put some hand sanitizer in a paper towel and I open the door that way. I always, when I'm out at the gas station, I spray the pumps with Lysol because I know I cannot afford to get a transmission of anything because of my lung capacity. I only have a 15% survival rate if I were to catch coronavirus. And monkeypox is out of the question because I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to be messed up. You know, I have enough problems. I don't need anything else. I'm a diva. I want to save my face. Okay. Now, let's talk about polio because we have a resurgence because we thought we had killed polio. And just before we start this, one of our Franklin D. Roosevelt had polio, and he contracted polio from swimming in a creek, and there was fecal matter there. And I'm pretty sure urine in the creek because there's no way to sanitize that. But you already told us they can catch monkeypox in a pool, even though there's chlorine in water. So tell us about this resurgence of polio. Tell us about where they're finding it, and then how we can prevent our communities from contracting this disease.
Well, people need to understand that polio is an ancient disease. So you go back to Egypt and you can see some of the pharaohs that contracted polio, and they had muscle weakness and paralysis and flaccid and atrophy of their muscles and stuff. So polio is not a new disease. It's still here. The bottom line, at the end of the day, when we look at polio, it's it's an RNA virus, but we can pretty much treated with the oral polio vaccine, which has been a game changer. We've had multiple outbreaks throughout the history of man in the 50s and 60s, especially in Europe and UK and the United States, where had thousands of children and adults infected with the polio and end up being put in the iron-clad machine. With the advent of the polio vaccine, the cases went down dramatically, and we had the opportunity, one of the goals of the World Health Organization is try to eradicate polio from the earth, and they did a pretty good job. But now we have a serious setback because what's happening now, we're getting these vaccine-derived resistant polio viruses that can affect people, and also the fact that we have a decrease in immunization because of people's religious belief, etc. And let me explain to folks about polio. Polio is contracted through what we call the fecal oral route, which means you have to get feces in your mouth. That virus, the enterovirus, which is part of the polio virus family, goes to your gastrointestinal cells and gets in there, and then it makes its way to your central nervous system. About 25% of the people that get polio, and this is the scary part, are asymptomatic. They're infected, and they're infectious, and they're out there for 2 weeks to 6 weeks, spreading viruses through feces and stuff. So that's a significant threat to public health.
So, Dr. Lane, I would like you to just repeat that one more time. They can be asymptomatic. Tell people what asymptomatic is, please, and how long this is in your body before you're showing symptoms and you're actually spreading.
Well, with polio, it can be about 25% of people that get polio are asymptomatic, which means they have the virus, but they show no signs of symptoms. But when people do get the signs of symptoms, fever, diarrhea, whatever the case is, because constitutional symptoms could be anything. At the end of the day, these folks are still spreading viruses through feces and stuff. And there can be infections from the day they get infected up to 6 weeks to 2 months after initial infection, shedding viruses in their feces and stuff. And this is part of the virus itself. The polio virus's inherent property is to get out and spread and affect people. And people need to realize that the most important thing now is that's probably the resurgence in the polio is one, lack of vaccines, and two, that we have all these floodings, these problems with the water system. For example, Jackson, Mississippi has problems with their water system. New York City, we find the virus in their water waste system, not very adequate in cleaning the viruses out of the water. And so the virus is everywhere. And you have spillage of sewage off the coast of San Diego and different beaches and stuff. So people need to understand that fecal oral route and water transmission of this virus is part of that life cycle. And the reality is that at the end of the day, polio can be eradicated by using the oral polio vaccine. And people that are in their 50s from a younger generation need to go and probably get a second booster shot or booster vaccine, which will prevent them from getting polio. Because folks, if you get polio, it's a horrific disease where you will end up with a central nervous system infection. You will end up having significant paralysis, flaccid paralysis. Then you'll end up having paralysis of your diaphragm. You won't be breathing. Then we have to put you on an air support ventilation machine.
So, because we know the inhalation machine back in the day, we used to call it the iron lung.
Right.
Is that still the case, or is it different now?
It's kind of different now. We have machines that can, breathe for you and stuff like that. Technology's come a long ways from what we had back in the 50s, late 40s, 50s and stuff. So we have support system to help people breathe. But at the end of the day, this is not a disease that you want to play around with, because once you get a central nervous system infection and you get the viruses going down and affecting your vagus nerve and all this stuff down to your diaphragm, this is what ends up killing people or stops people from breathing, and that's why they end up having to be on a ventilator. So at the end of the day, you can prevent that by making sure that you keep feces out of your mouth, making sure you wash your hands, making sure if you're at the beach and stuff, check your local government to find out what the status of the water is. What are the bacterial count? What is the virus count? Because polio is a significant disease that you do not want to contract, period, end of story. And even in your basic shower that you're taking at the house, you better make sure that your water is coming to your house has been filtrated, clean, ionized, ozone, whatever the case is, because you could be in the shower, get water in your mouth, fecal oral again, and then you can be infected again.
So all of these ways that we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So if you're going to a swimming pool, with polio, we know that if there's chlorine in the water, more than likely that will kill the virus, or am I wrong?
You might be. I think it's a 50-50 chance, depending on how they sanitize their pool, when they're changing, when they're doing the pH of the pool, also when they clean their pool. And most facilities don't have a regular scheduled maintenance of somebody cleaning that pool and checking the chlorine content or the pH. And probably the worst situation in swimming pools is that that people use the bathroom. They always have public bathrooms there. People have all types of situation where they got to they pee, they have to use a bathroom, and that bathroom becomes the source of the infection. Like I said earlier, people step in the feces and they get it on their shoes. They walk out on the pool deck or whatever the case is, or they get it on their hands or whatever the case. They touch their face, or they touch the bar counter, or they touch the chair that you're laying in, or even a towel, and you put your hand in your mouth, you can be infected. So bathrooms are probably a big source of infection. So making sure that the pool that you're going to has a regular maintenance on cleanliness of the bathroom to make sure that you're not exposed.
Well, my other thing is, because we talked about swimming pools, but we didn't talk about hot tubs.
Okay.
Hot tubs are a no-no, I think, with what's going on. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. When you look at whirlpools, it's super contaminated from viruses and bacterial and fungus, and women end up with increased urinary tract infection. If you end up with a urinary tract infection in a whirlpool, that tells you how contaminated that pool is and what is the maintenance of that pool. So you can contract everything from viruses, bacteria, monkeypox, coronavirus, depending if they're cleaning the pool and what's on the outside of the pool. And so, people, that's another thing that you need to think twice when getting in whirlpools with other people that you do not understand or do not know what their health status is and if they're infected and stuff.
Dr. Rowland, this has been, the information that you provide is stellar. Everybody, welcome back to Hello America. I'm here with Dr. Lane Rowland. We've got a quick commercial break. We're going to come back with a summary of what we learned today. I learned a lot. And welcome and thank you so much for watching the PIC TV Network. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
We've all been hurt at some point, even abandoned. Many of us have done the hurting ourselves. We get to the point where we don't trust anyone, nor do we feel worthy of being loved by anyone. Then there's that one person who just doesn't give up on loving you. Their love is unconditional. Their love stays long enough for you to heal. And then they promise to never leave. That's love you can count on. God's love.
We here again. Everybody, one of the hottest shows on the PIC TV network is Hello America. And today, this show has been awesome. I want to thank Michelle for bringing in the doctor today. Michelle, this has been epic. You know, when the doctor comes on, America listens. You know, this is my doctor's appointment. When I mean, I go to the doctor every week now. I can't. My wife be getting on me saying, "You don't go to the doctor." I'm going now. I got doctors on, and to have him on, and I want him to talk about some of these pictures and, you know, being a surgeon and going in there and helping save people's lives. This is big, you know, to have him on PIC TV network and to be able to interview him like you're doing today. We got kudos. We got people from New York, Texas, Toronto, Canada, popping on, you know, chatting in. Michelle, I mean, what I love about the doctors, his information is accurate, he's professional, you know, he's down to earth too. You know, I love his humor, I love his smile.
I love Dr. Rowland for all of those things and more. I love Dr. Rowland because he truly is in it to help others. And having someone of his caliber that really is committed to saving lives makes a difference for me.
Wow, I can't wait to have him on here and talk about, you know, how it feels to go in there and just save somebody's life, to help somebody's life to be better, you know, to have him on to talk to us in real life form. This is the first time we having a doctor on his caliber to come on PIC TV network. Now I know Dr. Oz is looking at Dr. Phil looking at all the doctors saying now I have to go to my DW and get Dr. Brad Moore on now. All of them want to come on now. So as we get ready to close out this segment, we're going to bring the doc back up. Doctor, I'm so happy again that you on PIC TV network bringing value to our world, to our viewers all over the world. 5-star love. I'm drinking more water now. You know, doc, I'm walking more. You know, I'm excited. We got a couple of comments coming in. Wow, here's Coach Evans saying awesome once again. We got Darlene Harrington, Bowie, Maryland, Capitol Heights, Maryland, New York popping in. Oh man, it's amazing. Doc, when you saying the information you're sharing with us today is wonderful. And wow, can you just talk about a couple of these pictures, Doc, before we close out? And you can just, you know, talk about some of these pictures. And I know you're gonna have some of your other doctors to come on with you too.
Well, you know, this is a picture of me doing an amputation in a patient that has osteomyelitis and gangrene of their foot and stuff. So I have one of my students assisting me on that. So I am doing an amputation on this individual.
Wow.
And this is me just talking to the story, talking to the student about what did they learn, you know, what was their reaction, how did they feel, et cetera, you know, making a difference and stuff. You know, at the end of the day, what I've always strived for is trying to take the experience and the education I've had over the 30 plus years I've been in this space, is to try to train the next generation of doctors, healthcare providers to be better than I am. And the way you do that, you bring them into your world and you train them, you show them, you know, you see one, you do one. And that's my whole philosophy of training the next generation of doctors. And I'll keep continuing to do that. I want to add one more thing for the PIC television network. what is important for you folks to understand is that one thing we're going to try to do every week when I'm on the program is that we're going to bring you the most updated information on pandemic and endemic. This is a news alert for most people. I want people to understand there are several new variants out there, mutations that are significant. One of the mutations is called the Costa virus 2, KHOSTA number 2, or what we call the Russian bat virus. This virus is resistant to all vaccines. So I want people to understand that we're already starting to create these mutants, and the Russian bat virus is resistant to all vaccine. And this is a game changer in the world of the pandemic. The pandemic is going to be sustained more. You have to understand, folks, as long as we have different vaccines around the world, i.e. we have the Russian Sputnik virus, we have the Chinese Sinopharm vaccines. These vaccines do not have 100% vaccine effectiveness. In fact, these vaccines are probably down to 20%, maybe 8% at the most. And that's why there's a resurgence of what we look in Russia and China, cases going up. And the reality is that the Russian bat virus is created by the ineffective vaccine they introduced to their population. And this is the problem that we have. So we have to get back to sensible understanding biosafety and understanding virology on how viruses work. If not, we're going to be in this continual state for a long time. So it's important that your audience understand that there's a new virus out there called the Russian bat virus, which is resistant to all vaccines. We also have another virus called the BF7 variant. We have another variant out there called the Omicron BA2.752, which is also more infectious than the Omicron BA4 and BA5. And so this is your new reality. So folks, you need to make sure you continue to be vigilant and not become complacent. Right now, we're averaging about 70,000 new cases a day now, about 400 deaths a day. Within a month, we're going to be up to about 100,000 new cases a day and about 3,000 to 4,000 deaths a day. And the cases are going to get tremendous because we're getting ready to go into fall. People are going to have not just the SARS-CoV virus, they're also going to have influenza. And so,
Wow.
we're going to have, people are going to have dual infections of both SARS-CoV virus and influenza. So people need to make sure they continue to wear a mask and making sure they wash their hands.
But before we go, let's talk about a vaccine you told me about, because of all these things that have lung implications, and that's a pneumovax, a vaccine. Can we talk about that a little bit before we close?
Yeah, one of the most important vaccines in the vaccine spectrum, in the COVID spectrum, even in influenza spectrum, is the pneumonia. The pneumonia is a significant disease that will cause people to go into acute respiratory distress. It ends up killing a lot of people. Is the pneumonia, in particular the bacterial pneumonia, the streptococcus pneumonia. But there's a great vaccine out there that I've been talking about for almost 3 years, which is sound, safe, and used in children, decrease the amount of pneumonias worldwide. And neonatals is the Pneumovax 23 or Prevnar 20 or Prevnar 13 vaccine will prevent you from getting pneumonia. A very safe, stable vaccine, and everybody should go get this vaccine. This vaccine doesn't have any side effects. It's stable. It's been vetted and been used in our world for a long time. So that is the vaccine that everybody should get that will prevent you from getting pneumonia.
All right, Dr. Rowling, tell them one more time, what is the vaccine and what it would be called by?
Well, the vaccine is called the Pneumovax 23 or Prevnar 20 or Prevnar 13. And this vaccine is designed to prevent you from getting the bacterial pneumonia, streptococcus pneumonia. Even though people can get two types of pneumonia, viral pneumonia or bacterial pneumonia from SARS-CoV virus or influenza or almost any viral disease, at the end of the day, what usually takes people out is the bacterial pneumonia. And so this vaccine gives you a competitive advantage on decreasing your chance of getting the bacterial pneumonia.
Dr. Lane Rowland, you are so amazing. And every time you come on a broadcast, you give us information that we need to keep ourselves and our community safe. Now, we want to thank you. And I'd like to create a segment with you, and it's going to happen. But until we get that rolling, every week we're going to be rolling with Dr. Rolling.
Yeah, we are.
And we're going to be giving you the latest and greatest information to help you stay safe.
You know, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. Now, looking forward to bringing my wealth of knowledge, and also my experience and Coffee with Doc to your audience, because I think the most important thing is that we have to have voices that are making sound statements and not making ultra crepidarian statements, and giving people information that they can use. This is not the time to drink the Kool-Aid and then try to figure out what happens later. You cannot have a vaccine where people are injected and females have menstruation problems, or people get the vaccine and it reactivates their cancer and stuff. We can't be having that after the fact. We need to know that before the fact, before people go down that road, because this is dealing with people's lives and health. So we have to make sure we have accurate information based off the science and not how people feel.
You're absolutely correct. Dr. Rowland, again, thank you. Now, everybody in the PIC TV audience and the PIC TV network, Dr. Rowling will be here every Thursday at 12 noon. Every Thursday at 12 noon with a new segment. We're going to give you new information. We're going to work diligently to make sure you have factual information and to help keep our community safe. Dr. Rowland, until next Thursday, thank you so much for joining me here on the Hello America Spotlight on the PIC TV network. Dr. Evans, take us out.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you. I'm Michelle Cox from Atlanta, Georgia. Washington, D.C. loves Dr. Rowland. We're rolling. I love that. With health. I can't wait to, a couple of segments. I want to talk about diabetes, cholesterol, blood pressure. I want to talk about eating right, foods that will help us to live a long life. Doc, you got to help me live 100, man. I only got 40 years to go.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna bring the Coffee with Doc series to PIC TV every Thursday. We're gonna be talking about different issues, really health issues, and just a general, information to make sure that people have the right information to navigate. And I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. I want to thank you guys, and I salute you guys for giving me the opportunity.
You're helping us to grow in this health channel, and I believe that a lot of people are going to be blessed, and a lot of people are going to be encouraged as we grow. Hello, America segment. Michelle Cox, thank you again. Dr. Rowland, thank you again. Hello, America. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on the PIC TV network. And don't forget, we got some more information to share with you with the doc coming up real soon. God bless you, everybody. We'll see you next time on the PIC TV network. Smile. Love on somebody, be encouraged, and pray for everybody down in Florida. Let's pray for everybody in Florida. Thank you.
They say your eyes are the windows to the soul. They're also the windows to your health, because they let eye doctors see what's going on inside. Think about this. A comprehensive eye exam can be an early detector of serious health problems, like high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Shouldn't you see your eye doctor yearly? Go to thinkaboutyoureyes.com to learn more and for a list of local eye doctors. It could help save more than your vision.
Everybody, Michelle, we had another great show, Michelle. I'm telling you, this show is growing, and people are watching and chatting in. Wow. I'm excited, Michelle, because of the fact that it's real, it's raw, and I want to thank you for hosting and saying all the right information and making the doctor feel right at home. To talk to Hello America, only on the PIC TV network. This is our channel, our program, our show, the World Hello America Spotlight.
Well, Dr. Evans, it's really, really crucial that we get out factual information. A lot of times people talk about opinion, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that we had Dr. Rowling here as an expert, because he's giving us all the facts and he's giving us all this additional information to keep us safe in every possible way. And that's what we needed right now. Yeah.
When we talk about subjects that we talk about monkeypox last week, COVID, is it really gone? This is what the public needs to hear. This is what the world needs to hear. This is what's going to take us through the rest of this year and get us ready for next year and to help us to live a long life. When I was seeing him operate, can you imagine, Michelle? I've never been back there like that. Look at him. I mean, it's just, I can't even fathom this, Michelle.
I can't. My mother was a nurse, and so this is stuff that I know about. My mom wanted me to be a nurse, but I'm not that person. And that's why I salute the good doctor, because I let the experts do what they do. I write books for kids and I work on IT equipment.
Wow. And then to have him to teach other kids, he's teaching a student. This is big, Michelle, for him to train others. This is amazing.
And that's one of the reasons we have somebody that is currently in the field. He's training, he's a lecturer, and he cares. He genuinely cares. He comes here and he gives us his time once a week to make sure that people know how to keep themselves safe. Dr. Evans,
can you see that?
It was an awesome show.
Can you see that sign, Michelle, over her head? Can you see that? What does that sign say?
It says traumological.
Wow.
So he's teaching them about trauma, but all I'm trying to tell you is, Dr. Evans, he's going to be with us here every week, so people need to get used to it. Every Thursday.
Michelle, you the bomb.com. I'm giving you all because you the one set this up. You the one said we're going to get him on. Let's get him on. And for him to fall in love with PIC TV Network and want to come on and do a show, it would cost $25,000 per show. He can charge anything he wants on any network. And there are networks that pay him to do presentations, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 for a presentation, for him to look out for PIC TV Network. And I want to thank you, Michelle.
Well, Dr. Evans, the thing that we have to realize is he's looking out for all of us. And while you might want to give me the credit, every day that this man is working to save lives, this information that we gave today is going to save someone's life. And that's our biggest takeaway today. Well, Dr. Evans, we had a great broadcast. It is time for me to go, and I got these Chromebooks back here, and they won't fix themselves.
Hello, America. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
We've all been hurt at some point, even abandoned. Many of us have done the hurting ourselves. We get to the point where we don't trust anyone, nor do we feel worthy of being loved by anyone. Then there's that one person who just doesn't give up on loving you. Their love is unconditional. Their love stays long enough for you to heal. And then they promise to never leave. That's love you can count on.